Hello and welcome. I'm Cher, the Shadow Walker. Today I'm taking a look into Bigfoot, Dogman, Hellhound, and Skinwalkers in the British Columbia and Northwest Territories area sightings in 2026. I've also compiled a 5-year statistical report on who sees them, where they're seen the most, the area, what moon phase, if any, and why, which is extremely important, why we're seeing them. So, with Bigfoot in the British Columbia area of Vernon and Silver Lake, multiple residents reported seeing in January 2026 large bipedal figures, more than one, moving through the deep snow towards the mountain fed water source. This string follows a series of Sasquatch alerts that began in late 2025. Vancouver Island. Local locals report a Class A sighting near the northern peninsula where a large dark figure was observed crossing a logging road in broad daylight. Harrison Hot Springs, and Mystery Valley. Witnesses in early 2026 report hearing heavy bipedal movement and vocalizations described as rhythmic wood knockings in dense brush on the west side of the lake. Dogman, British Columbia, 2026 January. Hope in the Hope Princeton area highway. A motorist reported 7-foot wolf-like entity standing on two legs, so bipedal, early morning fog. The creature reportedly dropped to all fours and moved with unnatural speed into the timbers as the vehicle approached. Fraser Valley in the Chilliwack area, February 2026. New accounts from the outskirts of Chilliwack describe a large canine with human-like torso. Sightings have been concentrated near recent road clearing projects where the creature was seen watching workers from the tree line. Skinwalkers, Kamloops area, January 26th. Following land disturbances in the area, there have been multiple reports of mimicking cries. Witnesses claim to hear voices calling out their names from the brush in the areas where there are no other people present. The Suki and the Center Mountain area, 2026 February. So in the Suki area, reports from Vancouver Island describe entities that appeared to glitch and change shape. These are shapeshifters. They call them skinwalkers. Okay. Witnesses describe a large animal that looked wrong, was the best way they could put it, in its proportions, shifting from a deer-like shape into something bipedal when it moved into the shadows. Hellhounds, Maple Ridge, February 2026. Sightings of a black spectral dog with glowing yellow eyes have been recorded near historical trail markers and cemetery perimeters. Witnesses describe the animals as being much larger than a typical wolf, appearing and disappearing without making a sound. Also, in the lower mainland's industrial zones, independent logs for early 2026 note reoccurring large shadowy canine figures sighted near the old industrial docks. While often dismissed as strays, the consistency of the glowing eyes description has kept them on the national sightings file. So that's BC. Next, we're going to take a look at the Northwest Territories. But I want to give you some statistical information on BC first, which I feel is very important. So, over the past 5 years in British Columbia, there has been an increase of sightings of 32% in Bigfoot, and that's in the Hot Springs, Harrison Lake area. Peak time to see a Bigfoot is between 2 and 4 a.m. on a Saturday. Under a full moon, okay, now DOGMAN, there's an increase of 75% over the past 5 years. The peak time to see one is between 1 to 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, and that's in the Coquihalla Pass area. And that's under a new moon. Now, we also have hellhounds, and hellhounds have increased by 75%. The best time to see one is between 3 and 5 a.m. on a Sunday and any phase of moon. Skinwalkers, they have increased by, and I'm not sure, just a minute here. I think I should have said that is in the Victoria area that they are seeing hellhounds. Now, skinwalkers, there's a 45% increase in sightings over the past 5 years. 1 to 3 a.m. in the morning on a Friday under a new moon in the Squamish and Whistler corridor are the best areas to see them. Now, I'd like to go over something before I go further on. So, why are you seeing them in these areas? Well, the Bigfoot, which has increased by 32% over the past 5 years in the Harrison Lake and Fraser Valley area. Okay, so there's a shift in that area, people. There have been well, almost 1,000,000 hectares burned. So then that increases the sightings, right? You've got these massive forest fires, so you're burning out their habitats. So you're bound to see more Bigfoot. The Dogman over the past years, the 75% increase in the Coquihalla. The reason they're catching so many of them, two different reasons. So Highway 5, there's been an increased area of logging there. So they're increased in that area logging. That's a lot of logging. That's $22.4 million. Also, now we have high-end trail cameras and they're catching the sounds of them. I'm not sure if they've caught any pictures. The hellhounds that increased by 75% in the area that they are, which is Vancouver Island, you're looking at urban sprawl. If you've been to Vancouver Island, which I have, it's an absolutely beautiful place to stay. When you get up and you start going out further, like towards Duncan and past, and you see the beautiful trees that are so old and you can see the old forests, well, naturally, you're going to find them in those areas. But since urban sprawl is encroaching on their territory, this is why you're seeing them. Now, skinwalkers with the 45% increase in the area that they are, which is the Squamish Whistler corridor, the lithium mining has had a tick there. So you're in their territory and you're taking lithium, and lithium, like I've said before, rocks and precious minerals are a catalyst for cryptoids. So naturally, it's going to be some conflict there. Now we're going to take a look at the Northwest Territories. So in the Northwest Territories, which I found absolutely fascinating, Bigfoot sightings in 2026 over the past 5 years have increased by 200%. That's huge. That is just amazing. The best time to see one is between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. on a Monday. And it's the waxing gibbous moon that you will see one under. And that's in the Nanny, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Headless Valley area. Now, please note that 1.37 hectares was lost to fire. So they're caves. It's an area where their caves are. So that was burnt out. So naturally, a change in habitat for them. DOGMAN, there's a 300% increase. That's absolutely fascinating. Best time to see one, midnight on a Wednesday under a full moon. And the area, the Mackenzie Mountains. There's been a lot of drought in that area, which forces the dogman to change its habitat. So naturally, you're going to see them more. Hellhounds, 180% increase in sightings over the past 5 years. The best time to see one is between 3 and 5 a.m. on a Tuesday. The moon can be in any phase. And that's the Rabbit Kettle Hot Springs. And that's due to global warming because the permafrost is thawing. So the sightings in the Northwest Territories, we're looking at environmental issues creating this, right? That's something that we all need to heed the warnings. This is real, people. This is not a joke. Don't listen to people who tell you there's no global warming. It's not true. So their ancient denning sites are being exposed. This is what's being created by this permafrost thaw. Skinwalkers, there's been a 150% increase over the past 5 years. The best time to see one is a Monday night at midnight. And under a full moon, oh, sorry, not a full moon, a new moon. And so there's been, because of the permafrost thawing, and the heat is driving a tick in these entities' sightings, right? It's an uptick. You can't deny that. It's there. So then I took a look at to cross-reference that. And sure enough, 2026, Nanny Valley National Park Reserve historical most active hotspots around the karst region. The limestone caves are there, right? And that's where their habitat was. But because of fires and stuff, this is why you're seeing so many of them. And there's the Den Echo region, frequent sightings near Fort Nelson. That's right at the BC border and extending northward towards Fort Simpson. Also, there's been sightings at the Mackenzie River Basin. Activity is often noted along the river banks between Wigley and Tula, where the creatures are seen by the river. They travel the river corridors. I've said that before. A lot of the areas in the western regions of Canada with the deep crevices that were made by the Ice Age. And so they'll travel like the Red Deer River. They'll travel these rivers down low. They're staying out of people's view. They're staying out of humans' territory. But we are encroaching theirs at a vast rate. And there is going to be an effect. We need these cryptoids categorized by the government and protected. They need to be protected. We cannot look at this anymore and think that this is just something that people are making up. It's not. Look at the statistical information that I've given. Now, the Dogman in the Northwest Territories, the activity is absolutely astonishing to me. The land between the lakes is a vast, rugged wilderness between Great Slave Lake and Great Bear Lake, right? So it's the same as the land between the lakes. So you've got Great Slave Lake and you've got Great Bear Lake, and this is where they're being seen. And Dog Rib Traditional Lands, so that's the Tikko. I hope I pronounced your name right. Specifically on the corridor between Beneco and the southern shores of Great Bear Lake. Then there's Hay River, recurring reports of seeing a large canine figure, bipedal, stance near the tree lines along the highway in Hay River. So that's heading towards the border of Alberta. Hellhounds. Hellhound sightings often described as spectral black dogs. They are tied to the Yellowknife perimeter. Sightings reported on the outskirts of the city, Cameron Falls, and Ingram Trail. The Dempster Highway, lower Northwest Territory portion, reports of a phantom-like black dog appearing on the roads at night between Fort McPherson and the Yukon border. Skinwalkers in the Northwest Territory. So they're also categorized as shapeshifters in that area. That's why I've said that before with BC. Sometimes they cross them and they mix them together. So depending on what term you prefer, crawlers, shapeshifters, or skinwalkers, they've been reported in the South Slave region. Reports of the mimicking cry of your own voice being heard at the Hay River and Fort Smith areas. Sanut region, sightings of unnatural animal behavior, creatures transitioning from 4 legs to 2 legs, particularly in the higher elevation areas of the Mackenzie Mountains. So, in these areas that I've stated to you, and I've told you about the permafrost and that, we really have to look at the thaw out, what it's creating, what species are there. These aren't from our planet, but they share our planet and they're here for a reason. A video I did before was talking about during the war in the one area where they were protecting the ginger. Now, they refused to let the loggers go in and log in that area, and they literally drove them out, the Bigfoot did. They were protecting the ginger. So when you have this increase, this huge tick up of sightings, like when you're talking about 200% increases, you know that you're going to have to look at things in a different nature, like a different fashion, excuse me. We're not looking at these things, right? Why are we seeing more of these? Because we're logging, we're mining, we're disrespecting the land, and that's everyone, okay? I am a Métis woman. Grand Chief Member 2 is my ancestral grandfather, and I am saying this to everyone so nobody can backlash. There's not enough protections in place. And rather than the governments with this, in my opinion, the Canadian government has a flippant behavior like every government that I see, and they refuse to categorize. Well, maybe categorize is not the right word. They refuse to acknowledge that Bigfoot, Hellhound, Dogman, and Skinwalkers are here. They've been here a lot longer than we have. They know how to protect the lands, and we're not protecting them. So the government needs to protect them. because they are species at risk. That's the bottom line. They don't need to be captured and shot and have science, do an autopsy on them. Observations, sure. But I often wondered when people are observing these animals, why we don't have any environmentalists out there with them observing. And if there are, kudos to you. But here's my reasoning why. Since my encounter, I've been on a mission to understand why they're showing themselves to people. The world is in perils. And I wrote a science fiction book about this. I wrote it about almost 8 years ago. And then I had a time where I was too busy to be able to do my final draft. And so when I got that final draft done last year and I published it, I put it under science fiction, but a lot of what's in there comes from what the minds speak between me and the Bigfoot that was a female that I met in Nova Scotia. I called Anjou. Now I didn't go outside and meet her. I was in my bedroom and she was outside my house and she had yelled several times and at first it really did scare the bejeebers out of us. I was there with my husband and my two dogs and it was dark and I could see it just coming out of the mist at that time. And my husband, he wanted to run out the back door and run down across the back deck, down the ramp. I'm trying to give you a visual of this, down this ramp, which was about 12 feet to the car. So you'd have to go around the car and get in it. And I said, you know what? If it's angry and it's out there, you're never going to make it. And I was standing with the dogs, and my big guy wanted to go out. He's since passed, and I wouldn't let him go. He was a protector. He didn't back down to anything, Odin. And we had tons of wildlife around there. And I'm used to wildlife, and I'm used to the sounds of wildlife. And I can actually call different birds and I can call different mammals. I moose and stuff. People come with me and I'll call the moose and they can take pictures of them. I'm not a hunter, but I guess I'm a naturalist. When it comes to things, I do not believe in killing our wildlife. It's there, it's beautiful, and enough of them get hit on the highways, and ticks are killing enough animals that we need to take a serious look at things. When we log, when we're in the bush and people are logging or people are mining, the materials that are left from that, like the oil sands up the other side of Edmonton there, when you're looking at the tar sands and you're looking at the bitumen, and they wanted to pump it into the river to get rid of it. These oil companies, really, with all the scientists that you have, you don't think that you can find a way to filter this and make it pure and clear it? Because that is what the Bigfoot is telling you to do. That's what they're saying. They're saying, stop polluting. You can't just keep dumping poisons. You can't just keep dumping garbage into areas and expecting not to have effects from it. Look at the rates of cancer. Look at the rates of diseases overall. Look at the rates of forest fires and why are they happening? Some places, I believe some of those fires are started to clear out an area. That's my opinion only. I believe we have to change all of that. So if you want to go out and you're looking for the Bigfoot, or you're looking for a hellhound, a dogman, or you're looking for a skinwalker, whatever your preference is, remember, always have air tags and a GPS phone. You need to tell people where you are and never go alone. These people that go into the bush by themselves, no, no, don't do that. Have at least four people or better with you, in my opinion. I've been around the bears, I've been around the moose, I've been less than 3 feet from a lynx face to face. I've been face to face with the black bears, big ones, 400 pounds. I've been 3 feet from a moose, a big bull moose, and a cow on the other side of me, and hid behind a rock. I know the wildlife. I know its patterns. I understand it and I respect it. I studied wolves. I studied coyotes so I could train dogs. I didn't want to train them the way other people train them. I trained them a little bit differently. So, when I'm saying this stuff to you, I'm saying wildlife is exactly what the term means. It's wild, it's unpredictable, and it's going to protect itself. There are some aspects of it that are predictable. You know that if you're in its territory, that there's a possibility you're going to have an encounter with it. So be safe if you're hunting, if you are hunting with a camera, I should say, and you are looking for these animals. Pay attention to the other wildlife that's there, and also pay attention to the Bigfoots and the Dogman and the Hellhound and the Skinwalkers. If you're a female, you're more than likely to have. So, if you're going out in a group, I suggest you have some women with you and men. And my reason that it should be mixed is because there's more incidents of women in mind speak, less with men. With men, there has a tendency to be more confrontational. So it's testosterone levels. Also, when you're in the bush, don't wear any scents. Go in there au naturel. So you're not offending what some people think is beautiful in perfumes. Animals do not. Be wary of the ticks. There's tons of them. And know where you're going and tell people. And in my opinion, in the times that I've said here, on the days that you can see them, like the Bigfoot in the Northwest Territories between 2 and 5 a.m. on a Monday, under the waxing gibbous and the Headless Valley area. If you're going to look, at least be 4 people. Have batteries, extra batteries in your cameras. I'm a psychic, and people come to me for readings. And a lot of times when they come, they'll bring a tape recorder. I generally set up when I read somebody that I have a writer for me because I go quite fast. And I don't really pay attention to what I'm saying. So when I spit it out, it's not like I'm in a trance, but I am looking at a video clip of what's going on. And I'm just relaying whatever's coming in, messages that are being given to me. It's that fast, it's that easy for me. I really love doing it. But any type of video recorder, when I'm recording for a psychic reading, does not work. So, um, take extra batteries because they have the ability to drain your batteries right there on the spot. Have a really good flashlight. Have a game plan. Look at this as if what happens if they're hostile? What should we do? Go in ahead of time thinking that. Have a game plan to get out. Everybody know what they're doing. Map your area and um, tie something around the trees in the area so you know your way out. Okay, because you can get lost in the wilderness quite easily. I've hiked in numerous areas and in the swamps in Ontario. And yesterday I did one on Ontario. And when I was looking at it, I realized some of the areas that they're talking about, a lot of them, I've hiked extensively and camped in. And I've never come across anything other than a cougar, wolves, black bears, moose, and lynx. So I haven't had those sightings in Ontario of while hiking. I had hellhounds, but that's a different story. So I'd just like to say thank you for watching, listening, and I will be doing one on Manitoba and Saskatchewan tomorrow. So if you enjoy my videos, please like, share, and subscribe. Remember, I'm Cher, the Shadow Walker, and let's all have a great day. Thank you.